Hi, I'm Cris Gulacy-Worrel. I am the Vice President of Oakmont Education. We are a dropout recovery network of career technical education charter schools in Ohio and Iowa. But today, I am here hosting Edreform in 10 with the Center for Edreform. And I am so excited to have Paul Escala here, the Superintendent of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, the largest Archdiocese in the country. So thank you so much for having me. Actually, before we were just on, Paul and I realized we are both children of Cuban exiles from the 60s. So this is a really cool moment, an American dream. I think that my mom will be thrilled to hear about this when I leave. She's always excited to hear about people that left and whose children have made the dream their reality, and how you're making the dream the reality for so many in Los Angeles. So my first question, as the superintendent of Catholic schools in the largest archdiocese in the nation, how do you envision the role of private religious education evolving over the next few years, especially in this very ever-changing political and cultural climate?
Yeah. Thank you, Cris, for the question. I'm excited. This is really a seminal moment for all of us in school reform, and particularly in non-public schools. The Catholic schools have been in the United States before the United States was an actual country. First
I don't know if
Catholic
people know
school,
that.
Right, first Catholic school in the 1600s in New Orleans.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, so we've been here before school districts, before charters.
Before choice, before anything.
All of it. And we've always been a beacon of hope for families, young people, particularly those from other countries, immigrants, the most needy people. We've run into the fire, and we're still in that fire every single day. When I think about the opportunity in front of us to create more plurality in K-12 educational funding and options for families, we continue to be a safe haven for all of those families that have not found the right place for their child. So we expect to see more families coming to us as a result.
That's awesome. So to kind of build on that, there's been a lot of growing national attention in Oklahoma, as the Supreme Court there has a decision regarding public funds being used to fund a religious charter school, given how sensitive and complex this topic is. How do you see a decision like that influencing how states approach the integration of religious education into public systems?
Yeah.
And how might it shape the broader national conversation about access, values, and choice in education?
Indeed. Well, I think we have to really be cautiously optimistic. This is going to be a huge leap ahead for religious institutions who fundamentally believe that faith is a function of forming the human soul.
Yes.
We don't call our schools just centers for education. They're centers for formation, and faith is at the center of that. And, when a state actor is involved in that process, religious liberty becomes the first primary concern for anybody in this work. And the guardrails have to be very, very explicit. As a former CEO of a charter management organization in California, I can tell you that being in that space is extraordinarily challenging from a compliance standpoint. In fact, I believe that many authorizers have wanted charter schools to become less reform-minded and more like public districts. And as a result of that,
I would say you're correct in that.
Yeah, as a result, we've lost some of that that innovation and creativity in charter schools. So I would not want to see our Catholic schools or any school become more like a public district. We are the antithesis of that, and we believe in local control. We believe in local decision-making by parents, pastors, and principals. And so if that is protected, it's a great opportunity. If the guardrails aren't there, we have to be very, very cautious about it.
I think that's really insightful. And I'm interested to see how that pans out, because that's going to be a pivotal moment, I think, for our nation.
It is.
So next, as Catholic schools are growing across the nation, and we did see during COVID that Catholic schools thrived and Catholic students thrived during the pandemic academically, where often in their counterparts were not. They were closed and shuttered. As Catholic schools across the country serve an increasingly diverse community, how can they preserve their religious identity while also creating a welcoming environment for families from a variety of cultural and faith backgrounds? And what strategies or values help strike that balance? And you kind of touched on the immigrant experience in Catholic schools. I know I went to Catholic schools when I was young. It was an integral part of what my family wanted.
Indeed. And you know, we operate in a secular world. And as a result of that, we know that many families are coming to us for a lot of reasons, not because simply we are Catholic in nature. They may not be Catholic, they may not be believers, and that's okay. Catholic schools have never been just for Catholic families or Catholic students. We are a universal system of values and faith. And in fact, the word Catholic is universal. And so as a result of that, when I look at our system, 78% of children that we serve are of color. 60% of them live in urban centers in the Archdiocese. We're physically the largest archdiocese of the country, not just by numbers of schools or the numbers of students that we serve. And in fact, about 75% of our students are Catholic. So you think about that. We've got a number of students who are not Catholic, but come to us because their families align with values. So we have Jewish families, we have Muslim families, we have Christian Protestant families, and we have atheist families. But because our schools are safe, they are aligned from a value standpoint, character formation, integrity, and virtue matter a great deal in a world that seems to be morally confused and turbulent because they're seeking truth. We believe that the truth lies in Jesus Christ and his gospel, and we don't apologize for that. I think many families are attracted to it. The final piece to that is we're also evangelical in nature, so we've got a lot of students who have found their belief in Christ at our schools, and they've become baptized. Their families have as well. So that's an exciting prospect.
That's extremely exciting.
It is.
That's generationally altering for families.
It absolutely is. And for those that don't, challenge much of our faith and yet stay because we allow for open debate. We believe that faith is a process and it requires people to challenge, even those who are of the faith. So when our middle school students ask the proverbial question, how do you know that there is a God?
How do you know there's God?
Right. That's a journey opportunity for us. And I think, you know, our church, our faith welcomes that kind of opportunity to challenge beliefs.
And I think it's you know, of note that even as an adult, sometimes you have those moments in your life that you ask, how do you know?
Right.
And to be able to go back to a value set and system from your education makes approaching that as an adult a lot less dire or burdensome.
Indeed.
So finally, just kind of wrapping up, I just like to ask everybody, I'm an action-oriented person. What would a call to action look like for making sure that your work continues to grow and flourish, and is amplified? Like what call to action do you have for parents, families, communities that might not know as much about Catholic education, maybe think that you have to be Catholic, or
Indeed.
You know, you can't go if you don't belong to the church.
Right. Or can't afford it.
That's right. And so maybe talk about what a call to action could look like with policy or ESA or whatever.
So, you know, we clearly have an opportunity right now, not only with the Supreme Court decision that is pending in June, but also with the Cassidy and Scott bill for the ESSA. And the call to action, I think, is twofold. One is for us, we have to maintain efficacy to that which has always kept us thriving and responsive to the needs of children and of every generation. That we stay true to who we are, but that we also live in the times that we live in. And by doing so, that we continue to translate the gospel, translate our mission in that time. So today it's, you don't have to be a believer to be a member of our community. You don't have to necessarily afford tuition. We have scholarships and access, and particularly with hopefully a tax credit, we'll have more scholarships available. And I think ultimately what we also need to hear from parents is a willingness to really break down the shackles of the institutional K-12 system. That the idea of having to simply accept the common denominator, to simply accept the industrialized approach towards teaching and learning in district environments, that they have to demand their legislators, their governors, and now their Congress to do more and to act. And I think in the wake of the pandemic, when students were at home learning, parents became very exposed to what their children were actually being taught in school, and it rattled them. And I think that's why our enrollment has gone up, not just in Los Angeles, but also in other parts of the country. Parents are now very mindful consumers. And I think that we have to lean into that space and continue to educate them about the values of our schools. We're not for everybody, but we are for many.
I love it. Thank you so much. It was an
Cris.
awesome pleasure to meet you,
Thank you.
And to have this short time with you. I hope it's not the last time I get to see you.
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Cris.
Thank you.